All right. We're going to go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. My name is Tanika. I am one of your co-hosts for today. I work for Perez, and my most important job is I am mom to a 10-year-old on the autism spectrum. So thank you for joining us today for Advocacy Days 2024. We're going to be talking about safe housing. And with me today, I have my co-host. Oh, let me describe myself. I am an African-American woman. I am wearing a blue blazer. I have my hair in a fro, and my background is blurred out. Again, thank you for being up with us today. And how are you today, Taylor?
I am doing good this morning. Good morning, everyone. I am Taylor Crisp, for those who haven't met me. My pronouns are she, her. I also am a parent of a child on the spectrum and other various disabilities. And I am wearing just a faded brown-green sweater, and my hair's up. And yeah, and I'm happy to be here today, and I'm excited to talk about affordable and accessible housing and how we can advocate to make that happen. So, yeah.
Awesome. So to kick us off, we have some new things this year at Advocacy Days. For one, we have a team that's supporting us. So thank you to our folks who are monitoring the chat. So we have the chat this year, and it's open for folks to conversate and have a discussion. But we also have a Q&A this year. So if you want to ask us a question, please go to the bottom of your screen, and under the More menu, you can click Q&A button, and that's where we're going to be taking your questions. So we have two different things going on. So please put your questions in the Q&A if you can. And we'll try not to miss them if they're in the chat, but please put them in the Q&A.
But the chat is still open to discuss amongst other things, though. But just keep your questions in the Q&A, please.
And then please click interpret. We have interpreters available. So please click the globe on the bottom of the screen if you need that. And I think that I cover all the main things. Did I get everything, Taylor, or did I forget anything?
No, I think we're pretty much good to go. Just be mindful when you're not speaking to stay muted. And then also if you are speaking, make sure you speak at a steady pace for the interpreters so they don't miss anything important for those that need that access, communication access. So I think we can kick it off.
All right. So we might have a guest pop in, but before they get here, we're going to go ahead and kick it off to Kathy Mirihashi to do an overview of our topic today. Welcome, Kathy.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to be here. It's a little warmer today than it was last week, which is great. Thank you for being here. I'm just going to do a little bit of an overview about what we're talking about today. Let's start here. So today's topic is how do we create safe, affordable places to live? And that's a really important topic. And I've just got some really short things to say because it's kind of simple in some ways. We don't have enough affordable, accessible housing, right? For our folks, and especially for our folks. And the reason is for people with IDD is that, first of all, for most of the time, if not always, our folks are considered extremely low income because they live on SSI, which is only $943 a month, which isn't very much money to live on, right? And because of that, and then you throw in this part, housing in Washington is really expensive. The average studio apartment, that doesn't even mean you get a separate bedroom. That's just like one room with everything in it. In 2022 was between $1,200 and $1,600 a month. And if you're only making $943 a month, there's a big disconnect there that you're going to need some help having housing that's affordable, right? So, and here's the other piece. So, There was a study done, a couple of years ago about housing, and this is what it said. So DD only has 1,382 units that are specific for people with IDD. And that's not very many. And they say that the amount that we need is about 37,000 units. And we've only got 1,382. Another big disconnect. So today we're going to be talking more about housing. We have some great speakers that are going to be joining us. I'm hoping Representative Frank Chopp is going to be here in just a couple of minutes to talk about housing. As soon as he comes in, he gets to have first priority. He's been doing a lot of work on housing, so we're excited to have him. Later today, we have Zachary St. John, who's going to talk from Parkview Services, who's going to do some talking about some housing stuff. We have Sheng Fang from DDA, who's going to talk about what they're doing. And let's see, we're going to watch a video about kind of what we call the settings rule around housing. And then Tracy Turner's going to share her story. And then there's a couple of housing projects. We have Robin Tatsuda, who's going to talk about the Arc of King County's housing project. And Moses Perez is going to talk about Open Doors Housing Project. So we've got a lot of different people ready to come and talk about their various things. And we're just kind of waiting here a second to see, is Representative Chopp there yet? I don't think so.
I don't see him yet.
Okay. So anyway, with all those things going ahead, I'm trying to think where we should go next. Maybe Zach, are you ready to go?
I am, yeah.
You want to go now? And if he comes, we might take a little break, but can come back to you. But I
Sure.
thought, why don't you just go ahead and share?
Awesome. Hey there, I'm Zach St. John. I work at Parkview Services in community development and run a couple programs over there. Thank you for being here. I'm intimately familiar with the struggles faced finding housing for adults with IDDs in Washington. As the uncle and brother of 2 men with autism, I'm able to witness these challenges firsthand. My nephew Amador is 22 years old in Spokane County, and he's become a constant focus for our family as we navigate the complex journey of finding him housing and support that he needs. He's been living with his grandparents, sharing time between the 2 houses as he waits for his DDA appointments. His grandparents on both sides are acutely aware of the challenges of prolonged wait times for DDA and the scarcity of waivers. They've waited on hold, been told no, and just have to keep pushing on because sadly, there just aren't enough options in our state. I say this to remind and acknowledge that for many of us, this work is not just statistics, they're lived experiences for our families and loved ones. In the face of these challenges, Parkview Services is pushing on. We're not merely an organization, we're a community of support, working alongside our partners in supported living services, government, and private funders. We're providing homeownership counseling and down payment assistance for families who have a member with an IDD looking to purchase a forever home. We have community engagement programs like Camp Parkview and Vibrant Palette that are offering people a home away from home. Finally, we have 6 new projects that are currently under development and a housing portfolio that currently encompasses 208 units. But we heard that number, right? 37,000 units. 208 feels really small for what we need in the state. We need everyone in here to push to make the next steps. The struggle persists, particularly in the face of the soaring cost of living, especially in the Seattle metro area. It's a reality we all grapple with personally. Parkview, we're responding with some practical solutions. Our first mother-in-law in Lake City is under construction. It's a tangible step. We have our sights set on up to 10 more properties in Seattle where DADUs can offer an affordable housing option. To the self-advocates, parents, and service providers in this Zoom, your voices really matter. Your advocacy has a profound impact. I urge you not only to continue your advocacy, but to spread the word. Share the importance of the bills supported by the ARC Coalition with your neighbors, friends, and colleagues. Your network is a force for change. One bill that holds great promise, and I'm sure you'll hear a lot about, is the REIT bill. Its commitment to get dedicated funding for IDD housing. Firstly, it secures funds that would triple the usual amount for creating and sustaining affordable housing for people with IDDs. Second, it ensures that funds awarded to nonprofit developers are structured as recoverable grants, not interest-bearing loans. Repaying loans is impractical given Parkview's affordable rents at about $275 per month, which we know is far less than 30% of the fair market rent. Thirdly, it allows funds to cover operating, maintenance, preservation, and other housing services, ensuring the sustainability of affordable housing. This is not just a legislative initiative, it's a lifeline for our community. Your support can turn this into a reality. We're hopeful that you will tell your community the positive impacts that this bill and others like it can make at our state. Continue showing up to meetings like this and learning about the different things that are out there in our session, because our collective strength is our greatest asset. Together, we can redefine what's possible here in Washington. So, thank you.
Thank you, Zach. That was very insightful, and I appreciate you speaking on behalf of people with IDD. I do not see Frank Chopp here yet. Kathy, do you want to move on? Or do you want me
Kathy,
to?
I just, I'm texting with Representative Chopp and he's having trouble with registration. So I'm walking him through it.
Gotcha.
He'll get on in a sec.
And also that bill that Zach was mentioning that really targets the topic and theme today. That is House Bill 2. I can't see in the chat, but the House bill, the name of the bill, the REIT bill, is even though it's not called the REIT bill, it's called the Affordable Housing bill. It's put in the chat, but my chat box is kind of glitchy right now, but it's put in the chat if you're curious to read about more about that. And we also have a copy, like we have the bills of interest on the ARC of Washington website as well. And there is a hearing for that specific bill tomorrow, I believe. So. And Frank's and Mr. Chopp is here. So let's bring him in and have him speak.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you, sir.
Oh, good. Sorry about this. I was actually on time, but I couldn't figure out your form. You know, it started asking for all my personal history, and I gave up after a few questions here, but hey, I got through, so it's okay. By the way, I want to start by saying thanks to Kathy and Stacy and all the rest of you that have been working so hard to provide additional funding from the state for IDD housing. It's extremely important, and you're having great success. So let us review. We provided $25 million in the state capital budget from last session. And then your agencies that work with you asked for about $40 million, but there was only $25 million available. That list of who was selected for new housing projects for the IDD folks was published last week. I think Stacy sent me a copy of that list, and it looked really good, but it didn't fund all of the requests. So guess what? I think you've been doing really good saying, hey, fund the full list. So this year, we were able to convince the governor to allocate $100 million additional money for housing in general. And I've been urging all of you to then emphasize that that your backlog, you know, the projects that were applied for but didn't make the first cut, that they should just simply keep asking for money to fund those projects. So guess what? Yesterday, at a very nice meeting with Senator Mark Mullet, and he was very much sounded positive about trying to provide more money for IDD housing in this year's budget and I don't want to tell you more details about it. I just talked to him about it, and he brought it up actually before he even brought it up, and he was very positive. And the reason for that is because of your advocacy. Now, previously, I think the amount you got every year or every 2 years was like $5 million. That's obviously not enough. So you went with my help and all your advocacy, we went to 25 million. Now we're adding more. So I think there's a good chance in the proposed budgets, there will be more money for IDD housing, but you have to keep advocating. I mean, be nice to people, obviously, but don't be shy, which you're not, by the way. I'm not worried about you folks being shy, but keep asking for money because there wasn't enough money put in last time to cover all the projects that were applied for. And so keep pushing for that. Be respectful, but just talk about the need. I mean, I want to point out Sean in particular. I've seen him a number of times on the Zoom link for hearings. And Sean, you've done a great job, by the way. And people really respect you, and you're very eloquent in terms of talking about this kind of issue. So let's keep working together. Now, that's not all. We have a proposal to raise a little revenue source off of real estate investors who invest in buying up real estate projects that are worth over $3 million. It's called the real estate transfer tax. April Berg is the prime sponsor of the bill. And this would raise about $140 million per year going into the future. And April Berg is the prime sponsor, and she's got lots of support. And in that proposal, out of the 140 per year, a percentage is reserved for, guess what, IDD housing. And why is that important? Well, this is an ongoing revenue stream, in a large part, dedicated to IDD housing. So I'm really excited about it. My excitement usually tends me to talk too fast, so I apologize if I'm talking too fast. But I would encourage you to talk to not only Senator Mullet and other senators, but also the House Budget Chair is Steve Theringer. He's a great guy. He's done a great job on the capital budget. So he should hear from you and other capital budget committee members in the House. So I think you're making real progress. It's exciting to see, and you're doing great. Questions? I don't know, should I ask for questions, Kathy? I don't know if that's appropriate.
It's totally appropriate. Kathy's on mute, sorry about that. And there's a lot in the chat, Representative Chopp, just thanking you profusely for all of your incredible work on IDD housing, both in the capital budget and in the REIT bill. We're just very excited. For those of you that don't know, we've sort of shifted to not calling the REIT bill, but the Affordable Housing Act.
Yes.
And it is a very significant bill because of the language that Representative Chopp has been helpful in getting us in there. It does establish a perpetual source of funding for IDD housing. So we aren't begging every year in the capital budget for this amount of money. And that is so significant. It really solves a problem. We can't say that often in our world. It really does solve a problem quite effectively. So everybody be really aware of that bill and what's happening. And then, of course, I put in the chat how to reach out to Senator Mark Mullet and the other folks that we've talked about today that might have some influence on the capital budget to make sure that while we're waiting for that real estate excise tax to kick in for us, if it's passed, that we still have momentum on the projects that we've been turning in and making really aware. Between Oregon and Washington, several of us in this DD community went to the housing conferences there, and there's just a lot of interest in building for us and making sure that we're okay and we don't want to lose that momentum.
If I could add, we not only are helping provide more funding in general for you to apply for, but also I've been partnering with a couple of organizations to actually do specific projects, like the Arc of King County. We have a project at Angle Lake at the Sound Transit Light Rail Station, also with Ginger Kwan at the Open Doors program, and that's at the We've secured property there and funding for about 200 units of housing. About 20% of that will be reserved for IDD, and that's with Ginger Kwan's organization and Mercy Housing. So we're helping on many fronts because we need to have sites for the housing and actual commitments of funding and things like that. So by the way, if Kathy or Stacy can give me a copy of the chats so I can see it when I'm 84 and looking through my life, and it'd be nice to see the nice comments. So
You can do that.
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Is Kyle there wanting to say
Yeah,
something?
I'm still here. I'm just waiting patiently. Well, first of all, thank you for coming there, Frank, Representative Chopp. My main thing is that in the capital budget every year it's been going on is that they put money into our RHCs or rehabilitation centers to basically do a bandage effect on the buildings. Is that a possibility to take that money that goes into those buildings for repairs to the community housing? Because it seems like our RC are so outdated that we need to make sure that, hey, can we be able to afford take that money instead of putting it right into the community for community housing, community programs, etc.
Things have shifted quite a bit, particularly starting last year. It was pretty obvious that the state government is not doing an adequate job, to say the least, in terms of the state facilities, the RHC facilities. And so I've said, okay, let me work with all of you to be a constructive alternative approach, which is what we're working on and having great success to do these projects or housing units in the community. Okay. So that's still shifting. So I would, in order to ensure our success, I would encourage you to keep focusing on the positive in these capital budgets, where we've gone from 5 million for community-based IDD housing to now, hey, way more. That then sets a positive thrust forward for what you want. And yes, people will still have different opinions. Other legislators will have different opinions about the state institutions, but it can change faster if we have an alternative that is very positive, very constructive, and that's what we're doing. It's a question of your own beliefs of what you want to advocate for. Feel free to do that. I just focus in on the positive, which pretty much everybody supports, and that means that we have an increased chance of success. But thanks for the question, Carl. I really appreciate it, because that is a delicate issue sometimes.
Representative Chopp.
Thank you.
There's a question in the Q&A that says, what should we say to realtors to get them to support the Affordable Housing Act? And what can we do to show their support for the right people?
Well, it's very simple. Just tell your stories and the stories of the people we're trying to help. Okay? It's an undeniable need for housing for everybody, but particularly for IDD folks. So just focus in on the cause and on the people we're trying to provide homes for. And yeah, some people don't like to raise taxes. I mean, I don't know of anybody who likes to raise taxes, but the point is that we talk about the human need we need to help on. So just talk about the people and your own story or your own organization and make the case positive about it. And it's very hard to disagree with you folks. Okay.
Representative Chopp, I asked that question. I recently, a realtor sold us a town home for our son who's got a developmental disability. And I think she could be a support for this bill, but because I heard before that the realtors kind of dashed the bill last year. So is there anything realtors need to be doing to make sure just contacting their representatives?
Well, actually, quite a few actual realtors support this proposal and your efforts. Okay. Including the former head of the King County Realtors Association. The people that are opposed are at the statewide association, and they sort of, feel compelled to oppose any thing that gives them responsibility. Well, they're benefiting, and they have for decades. They've benefited from the real estate market for real estate. All we're asking for is a little bit of the money when properties are sold that are worth over $3 million, just a little bit of that to go back into the community to fund these critical programs and projects. So they should keep things in perspective, but they're one of these lobby groups and we just got to keep talking about the people that we're trying to help. And
So
your
what's the name of
cause is
that?
undeniable.
What's the name of that lobby group for the realtors?
I don't even like to necessarily refer their name, but it's the Washington Association of Realtors.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
By the way, if you look at national news, the realtors nationwide, their associations are being challenged, shall we say, by their own members because they have a mixed record. I don't want to comment further. You can just read the media reports. The point again, though, is not have an argument with them. Just saying, hey, look, everybody should contribute to the public need for housing, and particularly your great need for housing. And just stay positive, talk about the need and the people, and just keep at it.
Thank you so much. Is there any other questions?
Tammy, did you still have a question? I saw your hand go up, then go down. Did we answer what your question was?
Yeah, you already answered most of it. But the only thing I was just going to add, and this is really minor, but I thought last year it was on houses over 5 million, and now it's 3. Is that correct?
Did we catch the last part? Was it the percentage difference? Is that what you're talking about, Tammy?
Yes, I thought last year was 5, and now it's
15. Was the percentage different in last year's REIT bill, Representative Chopp?
I'm not sure. I think probably Stacy could find that question. I think the percentage of the state funding stayed the same. What we differed was that we dropped the proposal for a local government option for the real estate thing. So that's out of the picture. We're only talking about the state proposal right now. But I think the percentage stayed the same, Stacy, but you can clarify that.
Yeah, I mean, it could still change, right? But I think it went in the same as last year, the grid that I saw.
Yeah, that's good.
And then there's a quick question, will the funds be distributed appropriate to community population size, or will stay mostly in urban areas? From Cindy Knight. And Cindy, I think if you look at the chart of awards for DD housing, where the units are located, they are distributed around the state. Some of that is dependent on making sure we have developers across the state in every community. And that's one of the things we've been working on, is to get developers in every corner of the state interested in our housing and applying for those funds. So they're not awarded, based on rural, urban necessarily. Right now, they're awarded to who steps up and is willing to build. So we have to expand that developer pool.
I think the other question was around the amount that of what they base it on the value of the home. Has that changed between last year and this year? From 3 to 5, but do you want to explain that? I think it actually lowers some of it and then it raises it for a different group. Is that correct? I don't know if that was clear.
Well, if you talk about the revenue side, yes, actually this bill reduces the tax on most real estate transactions or keep it the same. The only thing that changes is just the very expensive properties over $3 million, then they would pay a little bit more to help you out. That's basically it. But I wouldn't worry so much about the details of that side. Just focus in again on telling your story about why you need the housing. Just keep it simple. And by the way, for those who are calling me Representative Chopp, just say Frank. My name is Frank. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Courtney, I guess, or
hey, Frank Shaw. My question is for the military, because I know the people with IDD have parents that serve in the military, and it also goes into housing as well, because people with IDD have military benefits, and we lose them if we lose the military benefits if we move out of the parent's home. So how can you fix that with the Affordable Housing Act?
By the way, I'm a little older, so my hearing is failing me, so I apologize for that. But if I get the gist of what you're saying, I think we could work together to address your concerns there. So work with people like Kathy and Stacy, and then let me know what I could do to help in terms of addressing that.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks for that
you.
question, Courtney. That's a unique question. I want to find out the answer for you.
Okay. We so appreciate you being here today, Frank.
Yeah.
I will say it that way. And all the work you've done on housing, and we know we're all going to be working on this session. So thank you as
Great.
much. Thank you.
Perfect.
And sorry that you had a little difficulty getting in.
Oh, no problem. I just have to read instructions. I've had a history of not following instructions, sorry. But if all else fails, read the form. Okay.
There you go. Thank you so much for being here.
Okay.
Yay.
All right. Anything else, Kathy? Anything else?
I think we're good for the day. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Keep up the great work. See ya, folks. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Frank.
That's great. And we got him for more than 5 minutes. That's even better.
That was awesome.
Yes. I think Sheng Fang from DDA is here.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Oh, good
Can
morning.
you hear me?
Yes, and you're from DDA. And you're working on housing at DDA. Thank you.
Thank you for your support. So we start small. So I'm the first one full-time work for housing at DDA, and now we are growing. So an exciting news is we just added 2 regional housing program managers to support our clients' needs from the regional, and we're planning to develop more local resources and collaborate with local founders and housing developers to create more accessible and affordable DD housing units for our people. So we are very excited about that. And so today I want to give you guys a couple of updates regarding to the housing business in DDA and for the DD community. So the first major thing is 2023 to 2025 Housing Trust Fund DD housing projects update. So as Representative Frank just mentioned, so previously we usually only get $3 to $5 million every 2 years to support the DD housing. And with all your help and advocacy, so last year we successfully get $25 million for the 2-year round to support DD housing development. So that's an amazing win. So thank you all for your support. And so it's more than tripled amount of money. Well, shockingly, we find out it's still not enough because we received a request to about like a $49 million request. So we can only support about half of the applications. So glad. So we received those like 20 applications, and in those 20 applications, they proposed to develop more than 200 DD units. Well, unfortunately, Commerce can only support half of them. So Commerce released their awarding list recently, and all of those $25 million have gone. And actually, Commerce are very generous and they are very supportive to DD community. So they even supported our project contains DD units from the traditional fund source because we used up all of our DD money. So altogether, we get 10 projects win the awarding, and that will create 155 accessible and affordable DD units. So still a very good a very good news. So we're very excited about that. So that's the Housing Trust Fund update part. And within the DDA, we do see some really positive change happening. So during the last 2 years, we made some really good achievements. For example, we formally formed the collaboration relationship between the DDA, between DSHS, DDA, and the Department of Commerce for reviewing all of the Housing Trust Fund DD housing projects. And we work together to review those applications, and we share our expertise and our DD community housing needs with Commerce to help them understand where is the housing needs and what kind of housing units we prefer and our community, our clients prefer to have. So that's one major achievement. And the second one is we successfully recruited some new DD housing developers to help us to develop affordable housing for the community. So traditionally, we have 3 major developers, and now with our efforts, we are able to get connected with other major developers, for example, like Mercy Housing, like Bellwether Housing, like Village Housing. Those new builders step in. Some of them are previously like options. Some of them previously focused on the large scale apartments. And now we start to open our mind. So besides traditional scattered single family sites, that we think some of our clients they can do the part-time work. So some units, affordable units in the large apartments will meet their needs. And the last thing is we successfully hired 2 full-time employees to support the DD housing part. So actually we would think we need more because ideally we will need at least 1 for each region. So currently we have 3 regions. That's step by step. So hopefully we'll get more support funding to hire more full-time employees in the future. So this new housing program managers really helpful to help us to building and develop resources from the local regional area, and also we are planning to expand our relationship to the local housing authorities, because currently we don't have too much resources to utilize the HUD housing vouchers. That's a big part. So hopefully we can collaborate with them and find some fund to develop some like so-called project-based units for DD community. And so for the future, we see there are still some challenges and also there are opportunities. So a couple of major things I would need your support to help us to advocate. First thing is, as Representative Chopp mentioned, so currently our funding is not a permanent one. So every 2 years, we need to get a review and get approved. Sometimes we get more funds, sometimes we get less. So hopefully we can get like this long-term capital fund. And the bill we just talked about, the 2276. So the REIT bill, that's a really great opportunity for us. So I would think if we can support that bill, it will be great, because that will really solve the problem and help us to get the long-term fund. And besides development capital fund, we think we also need the stable long-term operating and maintenance funds to make this whole affordable housing program sustainable. Because currently we only receive the money to build the house, and then after that it's on the developer's own to managing the maintenance cost. And we all know our clients' income extremely low, so usually well below 30% of AMI. So we receive the SSI like $900 per month. And for affordable housing, we only pay like 30% of the income. So that's $300 per month for rent. So some of the developers that are really struggling financially, especially when there is vacant units due to some reason. So the roommate match sometimes could be hard and challenging. So we would think some operation and maintenance support will be great to help to keep this program to be healthy and sustainable. So that's one thing we want to work on. Another thing is we would think there is another huge affordable housing program called the Permanent Supportive Housing Program in Washington State. And currently that program focuses on to support people with homeless or mental health conditions. And so our DD community has a very limited access to that program. So we would really love to see, so we can be part of the conversation, and more DD clients will have more access to that big housing program. Okay, so those are couple of updates I'm sharing today. And in the future, DDA is committed to providing more like housing supporting services. So our housing team is growing. And so any questions?
Looks like Carrie has a question.
There we go. I had to unmute. Sheng, thank you so much for all that information. I don't know if my concern is under your purview, but my question is there any funding in the legislation that has been proposed that will provide some help the agencies or organizations that provide the services they do? So my daughter's served by supported living. She has a high level of need. And so she needs the support from the agency in order to live in the community. And I know my experience, the housing agencies, they operate pretty, they have pretty thin budgets. And so I understand we're building, or we're looking to build more housing and create it, but are we going to support also the agencies that support our loved ones? That's a concern for me.
That's a great question. Yeah. So my focus of my job duty is focusing more on housing side. And we do have service team, I think DDA providing the service like supported living and other services based on the waiver money. So my understanding is the waiver part is actually come from the federal money from Medicaid. So as far as I know, I think there are some bills talking about increase the service payment rate to support the service providers. So maybe that's a direction you want to talk with your lawmakers in your district to urge them or to help them understand, okay, so we are building the housing, and actually in the meantime, our clients also need the corresponding service to help them live independently and successfully in the community. So it's always be a two-part thing, not just housing. Yeah. So now I think so talk with local funders and the lawmakers to help them understand the housing and service for our clients. I think they're equally important. Yeah. And when we work together with commerce and the housing developers, we also pair them up with service providers. So currently we've majorly pair them up with the supported living service providers. So in that way, we can guarantee, okay, when this unit is built, and we can allocate the clients, and in the meantime, their service ready.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
I saw one in a Q&A that Emily might have answered, but if anyone has any
Well,
other.
yeah, that was my question. Hi, Shane, how are you doing? Good to have you here. I'm just wondering if these housing managers, are they in just 2 regions right now, or are they working across the state?
So currently, they are working across the state. So we have Justin for Region 1, and we have Molly for Region 2 and Region 3. So
Okay.
for the ideal situation, we would see one for each region, and we also need some extra help to help us to get connected with a permanent supportive housing program as well.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm with you there. I'm glad you're working on that. You've come a long ways. We talked with Sheng when he was right new to the job. He met with our Vancouver
Yeah.
helping group. So it's exciting to see all you've done. Thank you for your work.
Yeah, and so one cool part, I think Molly is attending the Clark County housing meeting regularly. So if you get any questions, feel free to share your questions with her.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that, Sheng. I appreciate you being here and sharing that with us. And also, I haven't met you, I believe, so it's nice to meet you. So
Thank
next
you
up, we're
all.
going to have Moses from the Open Doors Housing Project go, since he needs to leave soon. So if you're ready to speak, Moses, the floor is yours. So welcome.
Thank you, Kathy. Is that okay if I share my screen? I just wanted to share a one pager. I'll speak real quick. First of all, thank you, Kathy. Thank you to the ARC of Washington. Good to see you, Stacy. Good to see all the self-advocates here today, and everybody that's helping in the community here that we're serving. My name is Moses Perez, and I am with Open Doors for Multicultural Families, and we're based here in Kent, Washington. And we are a local service provider here for really the multicultural populations that exist here in Kent. So people with disabilities and their families. For those of you that do not know, Kent is very diverse. In fact, in the Kent School District, they speak over 100 different languages in the school district alone. So also Kent is consistently in the top 10 most diverse cities in the United States. So it's a great privilege to serve. Also, it's a great challenge to serve also these diverse populations. Currently, we have about 60 employees at Open Doors for Multicultural Families. And I want to say we speak over 22 different languages. So I say that to just highlight the complexity and the diversity of the people we serve. Open Doors has been working on trying to figure out, some viable housing options for the individuals and the families we serve. And I am very happy to announce that we were awarded the site of the Kent Des Moines Light Rail Station near Highline College. So we are working pretty really overtime on trying to secure funding for this housing project. It is more than a housing project, and I'll explain a little bit more about that on the one pager. But yeah, we are just so thankful to the community. Many of you have already started helping advocate for the populations and individuals we serve, so we thank you for that. And with that, I'll just get right to the one pager. As Kathy mentioned, I am a little tight on time today. We're actually here in Olympia. We've been in Olympia all week. Myself, my team, and also self-advocates and family advocates that are joining with us this week in Olympia. So I'll go ahead and try to share this one pager, and then I'll share it. Oh, I think I did share it with you, Kathy. If you could send it out to the group,
Yeah,
that'd be
it's
wonderful.
it's in the chat box. I'll put it in again.
Okay.
The link to it is in the chat box.
Okay. Thank you so much. Let me see if I can share here. Okay, can everybody see that? Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. I'm gonna try to figure out how to scroll. Okay, here we go. So this is our one pager for the multicultural village that we're looking to build there in Kent, again, right next to the light rail station. Many of the things, that I heard even in the short time I've been on the call kind of touched on some of these similar topics around, the people with disabilities and their families not being able to find affordable housing. That's a struggle, I want to say, for everyone in our society today because of the cost of living, like many of you have mentioned. But I think also, of course, people with disabilities and their families even struggle more. And, even to add to that, the complexity for people who have language barriers or cultural barriers in trying to access that housing. And so for this year, well, let me say that the project itself is about $134 million. That would include for the housing, as well as the early learning center that we want to build on site. It is called a village for a reason. We're going to have lots of push-in supports available to people who struggle with transportation. It will be I want to say 220 units approximately, and about 20% of those units will be reserved for people with disabilities and their families. And then you'll see some other details here. Again, I mentioned we are trying to secure housing for this project. And of that 134 million, roughly a little under 10% is what we're going to ask from the state legislature between this session and next session. And we are very grateful that the governor did write in 5 million into his budget. However, to kind of stay on track and stay on pace, we want to ask the legislature this year for 10 million, and then maybe the other 10 million next year. We understand that the short session is short, and there's not, and also a lot of the money from these funds have already been spent, so there's not a lot of money to go around this year. So those are some of the challenges that we're facing. I did mention that, for the people we serve, they definitely struggle to find, housing that meets their needs. One of the unique things about the people we serve is that a lot of the families that we serve are multi-generational. So when they try to find housing, like a 3-bedroom apartment or a 4-bedroom apartment, it's very hard to find. So we're trying to really design this this village to really accommodate the special needs of the populations we serve. However, I do want to be clear that this multicultural village housing and village will be open to everyone. However, we do want to put a little extra emphasis in services and supports in this village and this housing site that maybe might not exist in other ones. Here's, the design will be a little bit different, but this is, I would say, a pretty good picture of what we're looking at. Again, like I said, 20% of the housing units will be reserved for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families. There's a bullet point here on the early learning center. I would just say, a lot of them, especially a lot of the mothers that I've worked with in family advocacy training, they have all, or most of all of them have mentioned to me the challenges that they find in trying to find services for their children. And this early learning center is going to be quite accommodating for them and very, should I say, very convenient. We also looking to establish job training programs there on site, working with Highline College and a few other professional vendors that we're in communications with. Of course, we will do case management there on site, after school support, family support groups that have been very beneficial for our families, as well as like self-advocacy leadership training classes that we will have there, assistive technology lab. And then again, the access to the light rail station has been a big need for our population for quite a bit now. Let me see. I want to say, okay. Kathy, I know I only had 5 minutes, so I want to respect the time, but I just want to leave it open if there is any questions as well. Kathy, I don't know if you can share my email with the group here along with that one pager. I would appreciate that. And if any of you have any questions or you want to reach out to me, please know that I'm available for your questions. And just thank you all again, because like I said, many of you have already have already started supporting us. You've been supporting us for the last few years. So we are really appreciative of this group and everything you all do. And I'll give it
Great.
back to you.
Thanks, Moses. Can you put your email in the chat box real quick?
I will do that. Thank you.
That's great. Should we go back to our original agenda now? Thank you.
All right, we're gonna hop back up and we are gonna hear a story, I believe, from Tracy Turner.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Tracy.
My name is Tracy Turner, and I am here to tell my story that I was in a women's shelter and I had to leave, and the home that I am in right now is not ADA accessible. I have to walk up like 18 steps to up to my room, and this is very important that we pass the 2276 bill and the other bill, the 6191. And we also need to have 30,000 housing units to build so everyone can have a home. And it's very high cost of living, and we need to get the people off the street, the homelessness, the mental people with disabilities. We need to have affordable housing, and I hope that our legislator in my district, I told my legislator how it's very important. Thank you for listening to my story.
Thank you, Tracy.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. So we have a little video that I've got to share my screen again. Hold on. This is a video. It's about what we call the settings rule. And let's see if I can find it now. This is a funny little, let's see. I gotta get the right view. Do you see my screen now or not? Oh, it stopped sharing. Okay, hold on. Well, it doesn't want to. Okay. Do you see the video there?
Yep, we can see.
Okay. So this is about home and community settings. And when we think about housing, we talk about community housing. And I want you to see this because it talks about the kinds of things you should expect when you have what makes things community based. Okay. Oh, hold on. Wait. One more thing I forgot to do. I forgot to share the sound. All right. Try that one more time. Now, do you see it? Do you see it, Taylor?
What to expect from your service providers. If you receive home and community-based services from the DSHS Developmental Disabilities Administration, you have rights under a federal rule called the HCBS Settings Rules that your service providers must follow. Under these rules, the people who provide your services must respect your privacy, treat you with dignity and respect, not bully or threaten you into doing something you don't want to do, and not restrain you by physical force or medication. Service providers cannot take away your right to make decisions about your life, including what you do, the home you live in, how you spend your money, whether or not you work, and your choice of friends and romantic partner. If you receive residential services, you can also expect support to live in an accessible home you choose and can afford from available options in the community. Your own key. Privacy in your bedroom and bathroom, including doors that lock. freedom to decorate your space the way you want, to meet with visitors in your home when you want, input on who you live with and the staff who provide your support, a signed lease, rental agreement, or similar contract that follows state and local landlord-tenant laws, to plan what you do each day, including when you go to bed, when and what you want to eat, and where you go in the community, and information and support to access recreation, education, and employment opportunities in your community. If your service provider wants to restrict any of these rights due to concerns about your health or safety, they can only do that if you agree and it's included in your person-centered service plan. Watch our video, Settings Rules Modifications, for what has to happen in order to limit your rights under these rules. If you have questions about what the settings rules mean for you, please call, email, or talk to your DDA case manager in person.
There we go. Okay. Just some good information for you as you're thinking about housing and what you can and can't do in the community. And I think with that, we have Robin Tatsuda from the Arc of King County, who's going to talk about their project.
Hi, thanks, Kathy. Hi, everyone. Good morning. It's still morning. You feeling it? Kyle, I see you laugh, so I assume that means yes. I'm Robin Tatsuda. I'm Executive Director at the Arc of King County, and I'm really excited to get to talk to you today about our new housing project. Real quick, I'm going to take my face off so you can see the picture behind me. You all see this building behind me, and it says the Arc Legacy Center, Affordable Housing and Consolidated Services for the IDD Community. The Arc of King County, in partnership with Mercy Housing Northwest, is co-developing, or basically together we're building this building in SeaTac. We actually broke ground last month, and we expect this building to be move-in ready in about May or June of 2025, so in about a year and a half from now. So let's see, a few things to know. Can I also share my screen? I have a different picture to show you.
Yeah, I've got to find you here. Let's see.
Yeah, I think I got it. I think are you seeing this picture now? There's a building again. Yeah. So this is the same building, but from a different angle. And the reason I wanted to show you is because, can you see where my cursor is kind of moving on the right-hand side? This building is located right next to the light rail station. It's the Angle Lake Light Rail Station in SeaTac. So there's the light rail station. This thing in the middle is actually the parking garage for the light rail station. And then our building is right next to it. So not only is it on the light rail, but it's also on like all the major bus lines and very close to all the major like roadways and things. So it's really accessible to folks transportation wise, which is exciting. So you might be wondering what's about this building. So there's going to be a total of 130 apartments inside the building. Plus on the ground floor, the Arc of King County is going to move our whole office, basically do all of our work out of the ground floor of this building. So there will be people who live upstairs, and the Arc will be delivering services downstairs. Of those 130 units, those are available to the whole community. 26 of them, or 20%, are specifically for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And it could be people of any age. It could be children living with their families. It could be adults who live on their own, adults who live with their families, adults who live with caregivers, people who use supported living services, you name it. In the building, the apartments will be, we have studio apartments, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 bedroom. And they are permanently affordable units. So I don't know if you're familiar with the term area median income, or AMI. That basically is a number that's sort of like the average of how much people make in your area. And these units are available to people who make 30% of area median income or less, 50% or less, or 60% or less, which is basically almost all people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We just know that a lot of people don't make as much money to be able to afford rent as other people. So these apartments will always be available to people with lower incomes for like eternity, basically, which is exciting. Also, a handful of the units set aside for people with developmental disabilities will also have what we call a Section 8 voucher attached to them. So, so not only is it lower rent already, but with a Section 8 voucher, it will lower the rent even more. So that's really exciting for folks so that they can afford to live here. I already mentioned, but I'll say it again, that we're hoping that the building will be move-in ready by about June of 2025. Towards the end of this year, so maybe November, December of this year, we'll actually start the process to accept applications for people who want to live in this building so that they have enough notice to plan to be able to move in when the building is ready to move in. So keep your eye out for that. We'll definitely be sending lots of information out into the community. And if you're interested now, like I've had a few people reach out already and say, I want to put my name on the wait list. I'm happy to take people's names now. And when we do start collecting applications, I can send you that information. So when I'm done talking, I can put my contact information in the chat box. One thing that I think is super exciting about this project is that not only is the ARC office on the ground floor, and we're going to partner with Mercy Housing so that all the people with IDD who live in the building will have supports from the ARC. But also, Mercy Housing has worked very hard to design this building to be as accessible as possible. We call it ADA plus. I think we all probably know the Americans with Disabilities Act has certain rules, but that doesn't make everything accessible. It's better, but it's not necessarily the best. So we've been doing our best with Mercy Housing to make sure that all of those IDD units are as accessible as can be, at least with like the money and the funding that we have right now. So, much wider doors, larger spaces if you use any kind of lift or you need like roll-in showers, thoughts around how lighting works, how sound works, thinking about sensory needs, really just trying to make sure that people are able to live in those units comfortably for as long as they want to. So I think that's really cool. The other thing that's really exciting, like the ARC will be the people who like refer households to Mercy Housing to move into those units. Like people will go through us. These units are for people with developmental disabilities, but you do not have to be a DDA client to access these units. You do have to have a developmental disability, but you don't have to be a DDA client, because I think we know that there's a lot of folks with developmental disabilities who just never get into the DDA system. So that's pretty cool. And then, sort of as Moses said, we're certainly raising money as well. We're not trying to raise nearly as much. Our project is a little bit smaller, but we're seeking $2 million from the state legislature to help us in our project. And in general, we're doing our best to support the ask for $25 million in the capital budget, to support House Bill 2276 and Senate Bill 6191, because we know that we need way more of this type of housing in the community, and that addition of like support services built into the housing is absolutely necessary for the success of our community. So we hope that we can use our project as like a model for other organizations, other developers, other people across the state to like, grow from, evolve, make better, and like replicate. So that's it. I do just want to give a huge shout out. Frank Chopp already left, but he has been an incredible, incredible supporter of this project. And anytime you get a chance to cross paths with Frank, please express your gratitude for all that he does for DD housing issues. So that's it for now. I'm happy to take questions.
I think I saw Josie's hand go up first.
can you be a DDA client? And
Yeah.
if you already have housing, can you help people who already have housing transfer their housing voucher into King County? Because obviously this building is in King County.
Yes.
And also, if the person is not, do you have to be a part of the ARC? Or do you get signed up with the ARC if you do move in? And the other question I do have, are you going to have tours? Because what if I tour the building and I don't like it, or I say, no, I don't think this is right for me, but it might be right for somebody else, and you want to leave an apartment for somebody else rather than taking it for yourself?
Those are great questions. Let's see if I can remember all of them. So one question is, if you already have housing and maybe you want to move from where you are now into this building, could we help you like transfer your voucher or help you with that process? Yes, absolutely. 100%. We could help you with that. Second question. Oh, you started off by saying, if you are a DDA client, can you use this? Yes, you can be a DDA client or you could not be a DDA client. That part doesn't matter, if that makes sense. If you do not have to be a client of the ARC. So what I'm guessing is maybe you are using a supported living provider somewhere else. You could, if they were willing to serve you, if you moved into this building, you could keep working with that provider and still live in this building.
No, my provider only does Pierce County. So
Got it.
I would have to switch
Got
providers.
it. So we could definitely, like, if you were interested in switching to the ARC, we would go through the same process if you wanted to switch a provider anytime, and see if we would be a good match for you. But you could also seek a different provider in King County. Like, you don't have to work with the ARC to live in the building, but you could. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
And then tours, that's a great question. I hope that we can get to a point where we have tours. Right now we have a brief video that's sort of like a 3D image of what things will kind of look like, but it's not real life. I don't know the answer to that yet, but I'm going to make note of it so that when we get closer to accepting applications, I can let people know that, because it's a really good question. The only challenge I anticipate is that the building might still be under construction. And so it might be difficult to do tours, but I will ask about that.
Because I would like to tour and think about it, but I don't want to go, I want to take baby steps. Like, it's like walking into the pool when you're hot.
Yeah.
And you're cooling down, you take one step in and you're like, ooh, it's cold. And you take your step, you take your foot out, and you get warm again. And then you put your foot in even farther and up to your ankles, and you're like, ooh, it's cold. Instead of having somebody like Stacy Beck come beside you and just push you in the pool. I'm not saying Stacy Beck would do that, or somebody would come by and just put you in. Kathy or somebody or Tika
Josie.
would just push you in and be like, get in the pool.
Thanks, Josie. I'm going to let Emily answer her has a question.
Okay, so I am looking at all the question and answer questions. And there's several. So what population of people would occupy the 80% not designated for those with IDD and their families?
Can I answer that one first, Emily?
Sure.
Anybody in the community. So as long as it could be families, it could be other people with disabilities, it could be single adults, it would be just the general community, as long as they qualify for the income limitations, as long as they have lower incomes.
Perfect. So the next one, can we talk more about linked Section 8 vouchers, can any DD units, does any DD units get the Section 8 vouchers? Thanks. That's what they say.
So if you have your own Section 8 voucher, you can take that with you and any of the units will accept that voucher. If you're hoping to use one of the vouchers that's what we call kind of like project-based, where it's assigned to one of the units, certain units have a voucher assigned to them, but not all the units have a voucher assigned to them. So that would be dependent on kind of the size of the unit you needed and what's available.
So yeah, so that's actually my question. So I'm wondering that how do you get those kind of project-based Section 8 vouchers to pair up with this project? So we are trying to get more connections with local housing authorities, and
Yeah.
probably this could be a good way in the future for the future DD projects.
Yes. So this one was something that Mercy Housing did in partnership with the King County Housing Authority. I don't know the details of how they were able to make that work, but that it was between Mercy Housing and the King County Housing Authority.
Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
We got to learn from them.
Yeah.
So I have a couple more questions.
Okay.
Quickly. So, do you know if something like this will come to Eastern Washington, specifically the Spokane area?
I hope so. I don't know, like, because my organization is only in King County, but I will say this. Mercy Housing Northwest serves all of Washington State and a little bit of Idaho and Oregon. And their president, like his first job out of college was working in a supported living agency. And he has a passion to support people with IDD living in the community. He really cares deeply about it. And so he has a strong interest in continuing to do this work anywhere he can. I think what he would need is a partner organization, kind of like the ARC is, to do something similar in a different part of the state. So if there's somebody in the Spokane area that you think might be interested, like an organization who might be interested in a partnership like this, I'm happy to talk to them about what we're doing. And I know Mercy Housing would be excited to explore options with them too.
Great. So, just a couple more, Kathy. For the numbers, 20% of the legacy building and ODMF would, and the ODMF project, would, how many units would that be for, families and, people with disabilities?
So for the ARCS project, it's 26 units. I don't recall exactly, but I want to say it's somewhere between 30 and 40 for open doors. If Moses, you probably could tell if you're still here. So I don't know the total number, but the ARC of King County's project is 26.
Thank you. And then one final question, Robin. I love this new way of housing for people that choose it. I'm wondering if you have apartments for multiple people. Also, do all the residents have to have IDDs, meaning if one person was and one wasn't, but they wanted to live together? And would you consider in the future expanding to other disabilities?
Yeah, we absolutely, first and foremost, the household, so each apartment has to have at minimum one person with IDD who lives there. But anybody else who lives in that apartment with them doesn't matter. So it could be, I could live with somebody, I don't have IDD, but I could live with somebody who does have IDD in the apartments that we've got. It could be a child with their family. It could be a husband and a wife where one person has a disability and the other doesn't. It could be a person and a caregiver. It's very flexible. The only rule is one person in that apartment has to have IDD. And then again, the apartments range in size. So we've got studio apartments, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 bedroom. So you could have roommates if you're in a larger apartment, or you could live on your own if you're in a smaller apartment.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your help answering all those questions.
Of course. Thank you for letting me share.
Thanks, Robin. That's just great. Okay, we need to move things along. We need to talk about our bills of interest really quick. Let's see if I can share my screen here quick. Oop, no, that's not this one I wanted to share. Where'd it go? Hold on. The technology always gets me. Sorry. There we go. Can y'all see that? Great. I'm going to kind of speed through this and focus on ones that have things coming up and that are focused a little bit on housing this week. So the big deal for this week is 6191, the bill that we talked about earlier. We used to call it the REIT bill, the real estate bill that gives us the revenue source for housing, has a hearing tomorrow at 4 o'clock. In Ways and Means. We would love, the bill is 6191. We'd love for people to sign in pro or to give testimony. It's really important that we have a lot of support for that bill. I'm going to move down to some of these other bills. There's a bill tomorrow, today at 1:30. The 2365 increasing access to respite is going to be happening today at 1:30 in Human Services. Also today in, I think that same hearing is the Medicaid waiver prioritization bill by Representative Farivar. I think that's really important says how they should prioritize when waivers are available. I'm going to skip down. There are a lot of these bills. So what you should understand is these bills all need to be through their committee by next Wednesday. So you'll want to pay attention. A lot of them have already had hearings. Some of them you'll see if some of these ones that are important to you haven't had a hearing, you might want to be talking to your legislators about having a hearing for them. Let's see, the restraint and isolation bill already had a hearing yesterday. Also tomorrow, there's a bill about extending special ed services for 2130 to extending special ed services to age 22. It's a technical fix. So you might want to pay attention to that. This one is important to some of our folks. The right to repair has a hearing on the 24th, which is tomorrow. Or today. Also, I think it was, excuse me, it was already this morning at 8 about being able to repair your own wheelchair, which I think might be kind of important. These have already happened. The preservation of records bill that we have talked about that preserves the records at Lakeland Village. That hearing was yesterday, so you might want to talk to your legislator about that. I think if you're thinking about housing, you might also want to be talking to your legislators about adding additional funding into the capital budget for housing. That is really important. Yeah, so I think the link to the bills are there right now. Are there any specific questions about bills that you want to know about that I didn't mention today? Yeah, and Ramona put the graphic to the 25, asking for 25 million in capital budget. So that's really great. Okay, so That was called speed bill looking at. Looking at our bill, speed tracking.
Hey, Kathy, you did a good job. Kathy, you did a
Thanks.
good job with the speed thing.
Speed tracking. I didn't want to miss anything, but I also didn't, I know we're running out of time. So I want to be able to get to the video about today. Let's see. Hold on. So that we can watch. Let me close this out. Our oops. There we go. There we go. Now I've got to reset it.
Technology, Kathy. Technology.
Yep, that's right. But we want to watch Sean's video. That's great video that Sean has. Sean and Jessica. Okay, here we go.
Hi, I'm Sean Latham, the Policy Coordinator for Self-Advocates and Leadership.
And I'm Jessica Renner from Self-Advocates and Leadership.
We want to thank everyone for taking your time out today to join us for Advocacy Days. We're here to talk to you about how to become a trusted resource for legislators on issues that affect your life. Even though your elected officials represent you, they can't do this very well if they don't know what we want. We want to encourage you to contact your legislators throughout session, but especially this week, about the issues that matter to you.
That's right. With so many topics for legislators to learn about, your knowledge of developmental disabilities helps them to do their job. You are the expert in telling your story and how it relates to decisions they are making. Here are some tips to help you make the most impact. Your time with legislators, staff, or aides is short, and your message should be too. When you communicate, sum up what the issue is and why it's important to you. Have a specific request related to a bill or budget item. Attack the problem, not the person. Follow up with a thank you. By doing this, you greatly increase your credibility and strengthen your legislative relationships. Bottom line, stick to what you know, which is your life and how the issue affects you.
Here are some ways that you can reach out to your legislators. You can email them and their legislative assistant about your priorities.
To email your legislator, visit www.leg.wa.gov. From there, click on Communicate with a Legislator or Participate in a Committee Hearing. Then, under Communicating with a Legislator, click Send an Email. From there, you can find and choose your representative. Click on their name, fill in your contact information, and send your message.
You can contact them through the legislative hotline phone number and ask to leave a message for them. We also encourage you to request either an in-person meeting with them or a meeting over Zoom or Microsoft Teams. Please reach out to the legislative assistant of the legislator to request a meeting. You can watch the legislature at work on TVW, either on your TV, if you have the channel, or online at tvw.org. Another way you can participate is by signing up to testify at legislative hearings. For each hearing, you can sign up for the individual bills as pro, meaning you are for the bill, con, meaning you are against the bill, or other if you have concerns with the bill you generally like. Please remember before you speak at a hearing, note what bill you are testifying about, and be sure you know what the focus of the bill is.
Let me now take you through the process using the Washington State Legislative website that can be found at leg.wi.gov. On the website under the section, Let Your Voice Be Heard, click on the button that has Participate in the Committee Hearing on it. From there, under the Participating in a Community Hearing section, click on Testifying in a Committee Hearing. Next, choose if you testifying in a Senate hearing or House hearing. We all have the choice to testify in person, testify by video remotely, or we can submit written testimony or just state what our position is on the bill.
After you pick one of the options, you will be taken to the form to register. You will need to fill out your position, your name, your email, your address, your phone number, and your organization if you are representing one. It also asks you if you will testify on a panel or not. If you are testifying on a panel, it will ask you to fill in the names of the other panelists. The other box to make note of is the pronunciation box. If you want your name said right, you can sound it out in that box. Please also check the box "I'm not a robot" at the end of the form, and then it's time to hit submit registration. Once you submit your registration, you will receive an email from a committee staff email address. Please read this email carefully and add the meeting to your desired calendar using the links in the email. From there, make sure you are ready to testify.
Don't forget about social media. A lot of legislators have accounts on Facebook and Twitter where you can comment or watch live stream chats and virtual town halls.
It's so important to stay informed and involved. Participate in virtual advocacy days, sign up for the ARC of Washington's action alerts, get updates at arcwa.org, and follow on Facebook. Connect with local parent and self-advocate groups. For more information, check out the ARC of Washington's Hot Tips publication on our advocacy page at arcwa.org, available in English or Spanish. And remember, change is made by those who show up.
Thanks, Sean. Do you want to talk about today?
Yeah, hello, everybody.
This is Sean. I want to quickly give you an update from that video. People can now sign up to testify for a bill that is scheduled to have a hearing from the bill page on the legislative website. Therefore, you can visit your favorite bill or bills, look on the red side of the page, and if you see the button that says sign up to testify, you can click on it to go directly to the sign up page. Today, you have heard a lot about housing. We can all agree that our state needs to do better as it relates to building more affordable, accessible housing. We heard today that our community alone faces a 37,000 housing unit shortage. We desperately need to figure out how to build these units and help people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families afford them. As our one-pager states today, we need significant investments in affordable, accessible housing for individuals with IDD. To accomplish this, we will all need to work on and follow these 4 items during session. 1. Create an ongoing revenue source for DD housing through House Bill 2276 or Senate Bill 6191. 2. Support the goal to get $25 million in the housing.
Sorry about that. No, I haven't Jack. Well, there is, we need to support the multicultural building. 3, we need to support the arts. Really, having feedback from Robin when mentioning earlier. And then another one is we are asking for $25 million to be put in the capital budget for the needy housing. Now, let me see if the other one will play. And I've put the one finger into the hat. So sorry about that.
Next, I want to remind you, if you want to see the legislature in action, especially when they are on the floor, please visit the legislative website at leg.wa.gov. Lastly, I want to encourage you to fill out our Advocacy Day survey. This helps us understand what you like and what you didn't like about Advocacy Day, so we can get better and better. You have the option of filling out the Zoom survey that you should see on the screen now, or alternatively, you can click on the links I posted in the chat. There will be an English and Spanish link. Let us know after if you need any assistance in filling out the survey. With that, I will just say thank you everyone for attending and happy advocating today.
Thank you, everyone. Take a minute to fill out the poll. Sorry that we went over a bit, but we'll stick around for a minute or two if you have other questions.
Let's just say, Kathy, I'm looking forward to next week because I get to finally do it after a whole month.
That's great. Thanks, Mike. Looking forward to it.
Oh, it's where I shine, as people would say.
Nice.
I do this for a living, Kathy.
There you go.
I've been doing this for not all my life, but most of my life. Most of my adult life. Excuse me.
That's great. Martha, do you have a question?
I've got a question. I'll start my video here again. I talked to Darcy last week about this yesterday, but we are interfacing with CWA like most of us are, and not having really good transactions with them. And I'm just wondering the best way to address that.
How about we talk offline? I think, yeah, I think that we're having ongoing conversations with them, but we need to hear what folks are having. So yeah, I'd like to talk with you offline.
Okay, we'll connect.
That's great. It'd be good to talk to you. Carrie.
Kathy, I just want to grab you at the end to set up a time, since I'm going to be testifying tomorrow on behalf of the housing bill, and I just need a little more background than I could glean from the bill itself. So I just want to make sure that I understand the whole context before I testify tomorrow.
Absolutely. If you want to stick around right after this, I can talk to you briefly.
Okay, yes, I know briefly. I understand.
Let's see. Josie, do you have a question?
I was looking for Robin. She looked like she put her phone number in the chat, but now everybody kind of piled under it and I can't find the darn thing.
If I say it out loud, do you feel like you can write it down?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, hang on. Let me pull out my notes, and then you can also give me your email too.
Yeah, and I'll put it in the chat again, because yeah, it gets lost real easily.
0. Is it 206?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then what's the next number? Sorry.
829. 7011.
7011.
Yep.
Oops. Hang on. Okay. Return. And then what's your email, if you don't mind me asking?
So I put it in the chat also. It's my first initial and my last name. So if you can see on my screen, it says it will be
R.
Tatsuda.
Well, hang on, let me move the chat box out of the way. R. And it doesn't matter if it's lowercase or uppercase?
Nope, doesn't matter.
Okay. And then I sent you mine. I'm not sure if you got it.
Let me go back and find it.
I gave you my email. And then, so I put it's R Tatsuda, and then,
At.
and then at. Okay.
Arc of King County.
And that's ARC of King County, and that's all one word.
Correct.
COUNTY County. COU. Just I would like to be on the list, but I kind of wanna tour the place or see it.
Yeah, let's follow up offline. So it ends, so it's arcofkingcounty.org.
Org. I also have some other questions that I didn't ask on here.
Yeah, so that we don't take the rest of everyone's time, how about we do that separate? Do you want to call me or email me? We can schedule some time.
Sure. I mean, do you have some time today?
I'm actually really busy today, so we have to schedule maybe for next week.
Okay, that's fine. I'm usually available in the mornings.
Okay, I'll shoot you an email and see if we can find time, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Does anybody else have a question?
Thank you all for being here today.
Great stuff, great learning. The only thing I'm concerned about is like what I mentioned for Chopp was saying that we want to support that bill on the affordable housing bill and to the regarding any money that's going into our RHCs for repair work can also go toward our housing. And
Yeah.
three, the other big thing that I'm looking at is some of our, like, for example, Fircrest can be easily turned into a state park because it's got big enough areas. And one time I was there in the 80s, they have an area back that has like a picnic / fire pit area, and it can be easily converted to a state park for everybody to use.
Nice.
And then also it's right next to a Hamlin Park, which is a sports complex. So to me, it's like saying it's a win-win.
Great.
Nice. Well, we can probably stop recording now.
Yeah, would you stop recording? Oh, we probably should have earlier.